Welcome back, my dear friends. In the previous video, we saw how a loop inside a loop works. What happens when a for loop is written inside a for loop, right? Remember we did that? Now in this video, we are going to solve few questions around the same concept, right? And we are going to solve star pattern questions. In this video, we will solve a lot of questions, right? And we will see how loop inside a loop works. If you haven't watched the previous video, loop inside a loop, loop within a loop, then I would highly request you to please watch that video before watching this video and before solving these questions. That fundamental knowledge, that foundational knowledge is really very important to solve all these questions. Okay, so let's just get started. So in the last video, we saw how for loop inside a for loop works, and on the same knowledge, we will be building all these star patterns. Okay, so let's get started without wasting any time. Okay, so now, first of all, let me do a quick recap of the previous video or for within a for loop, right? If there is a for loop inside a for loop, then let's do a very quick recap, and then we will move on to these questions. Okay, so suppose if you have I is equals to 0, I is less than, let's say, 4, and then I plus plus, and similarly for j is equals to 0 and j is less than 4, j plus plus. Okay, so both the loops are going from 0 to 4, 0 to 4, right? 0 to 3, sorry. It is less than 4, that means 0, 1, 2, 3. That's how it will be. And suppose if I am doing something console log or something, there is some code that needs to be executed. So how this loop will work is, when I will be 0, right? When I will be 0, this j loop will run from 0 to 3. That means this j loop will run how many times? 0, 1, 2, 3. J will go from 0, then it will become 1, then it will become 2, then it will become 4, and then this condition will be false, right? So j loop will run 4 times. When I will be 1, again it will run 4 times. I will be 2, again it will run 4 times. And I will be 3, again it will run 4 times. So basically this I loop will run 4 times, and j loop will also run 4 times. That means 4 cross 4, this whole code which is there inside will run 16 times. 4 cross 4, it will run 16 times, right? So that's how our double loop works, right? So now with that knowledge, we will try to print this star pattern. Okay, so we will try to print star pattern. Okay, so now let me just explain it to you. It is a classic example. Suppose if n is equals to 4, if we have given n is equals to 4, so we have to build this star pattern where we have 4 items, 4 stars in a row, and 4 columns with 4 stars in each row, right? Something like this. This is what we have to do. If n is 5, then we have to have 5 stars over here and 5 columns, right? So it is kind of like a 2D matrix for you all, but that's how it is. Okay, so now let us just write the code and then we will see how it works. Now, let me just write the code and then we will understand it. For I is equals to 0, and then I will say I is less than n, and then I plus plus. So if I run this loop, how many times this loop will run? Tell me, how many times this loop will run? This loop will run from 0 to n minus 1, that is n times. Suppose n is equals to 4, so this loop will run from 0, 1, 2, 3. That means it will run 4 times. Got it? So this loop will run how many times? N times. And suppose there is an inner loop, which is j is equals to 0, j is less than n. This j loop will also run how many times? This j loop will run how many times? This j loop will also run n times, right? So what we have to do, we have to basically print this pattern, right? So basically we need n stars. After we have got this n stars, we will move on to the next line and we will do n stars. Got it? So how we will write this code is, let me just show it to you, right? So we have I loop already, right? So we have I loop already. So what I will do a let row, right? Let row. And this row is initially empty, right? This row variable is initially empty. Now what I will do is, I will run a loop from j to less than n and then j plus plus. Okay, I will run a loop from j plus plus. Now what I will do, my j will go 4 times, right? My j will go 4 times. So what I will do, I will just add row is equals to row plus, and then I will add a star over here, right? So I will add a star over here. Now when I have added star, after I have added star, so this loop will run, this inner loop will run 4 times, okay? This one. And then I will do a console log of row. Got it? So what I am going to do is just see what is happening over here. My I is 0, right? Now my row is empty over here, right? My row is empty. So what will happen is, now this j loop will run how many times? It will run 4 times. So this 4 times the loop will run. So what will happen? This row will be equal to row plus star 4 times. So basically when this loop will run, this row will contain 4 stars, right? Then what I will do a console log of row. That means 4 stars will be printed. Okay, that means 4 stars will be printed. Now what will happen? This loop will run. Now the I loop will run again. When the I loop will run again, this row will again become empty. Again it will add 4 times, and again it will print 4 times, and that is how it will print this whole star pattern. How? Let me just dry run and show it to you. Right? So if n is 4 over here, so how will this run? So what's happening is, now let me just, suppose this is your console. Okay, this is your console, and over here n is 4. And then let's say over here the value of row, and over here we have I, and then we have j over here, right? So initially my I is 0, right? My I is 0. Now what will happen? My I is 0. Now this J loop will run 4 times, right? This loop will run 4 times and it will add in the row 4 stars, right? My row will become 4 stars, okay? When 4 times this loop will run. And it will console log. So my 4 stars will be printed. Now what will happen? Now I becomes 1. Now I becomes 1 and row becomes empty again, right? The row had 4 stars, now row became empty again. Now what will happen? Again the J loop will run 4 times. The J loop will run 4 times and again 4 stars will be printed. So similarly for 0, 1, 2, 3, every time 4 times this J loop will run and my stars are printed. Got it? So that's how it works. And in the console, we will see 4 stars. Got it? So ideally, what is happening over here is this J loop is responsible for a single row. After this row is completed, I am doing a console log. When you do console log, it prints this row. Got it? And then what is happening is, then we move on to the next line. And then row again collects 4 times stars and then it again prints. So for each iteration of I, when I is equals to 0, this row is printed. When I is equals to 1, this row is printed. When I is equals to 2, this row is printed. When I is equals to 3, this row is printed. Got it? So that is how our double loop works. This is how we print our star pattern. Let us just write it inside code and then let me just show it to you, right? If that works or not. Suppose we say our n is equals to, right? Let's say let n is equals to 4. Okay. So n is equals to 4. Now what you have to do, I will write a for loop, let I is equals to 0 and it will go from 0 to I is less than n, right? So n can be, n is 4 right now, it can be any number, I plus plus, okay? So this is my for loop. Another loop over here, I have let j is equals to 0 and then j is less than n again, right? J is less than n again and then j plus plus. Got it? So now what I will do, this j loop is responsible for my single row, okay? This is my single row over here. This j loop is responsible. So over here, what I will do, I will create an empty row over here. This is my row is equals to empty, right? This is my empty string. Now this j loop will add stars to my row. How many stars do I need in a row? Sorry, not let. Row is equals to row plus, and I would say star over here, right? So I will add a star over here. That's how it is. And then what we will do, this loop will add 4 stars and then I will do a console log. So I will print once the full row is completed. Now what happens is, do you see this? As soon as I do console.log row, it prints my 4 cross 4 matrix over here, right? It prints my 4 cross 4 matrix over here. Got it? This is what we wanted. This is the start pattern that we wanted. 4 rows, 4 columns. Got it? So ideally my I is responsible for each of these columns, each of these rows, and j is responsible for each of these columns, right? Basically each and every line is due to this I. Got it? So now let me also tell you an interesting thing. Suppose if I say I is n plus 1. So what will happen is one more row will be created. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? See this. If I am doing I is equals to 10, so it will increase my rows, right? It will increase how many number of rows I have. Okay, so I is responsible for rows, how many number of rows I have. And suppose if I increase my j, you would see that j is responsible for how many columns are there. Understood? So this is how you have to understand this. What is the purpose of this I and j? And it is helpful when you have these rows and columns. Got it? So j is responsible for these columns on the right side, and I is responsible for how many rows it will have, right? So again, if I write 20 over here, so it will become 20 rows and 4 columns, right? And if I do n over here, and then if I make it 20 over here, so it will do like this, right? Try to dry run this code. Try to do the same thing again and again for yourself. Try to see how star pattern is getting printed, and then we will move on to the next question. If you did not understood this, I would suggest you to please go back, rewatch this video. Go back, rewatch this video. There is no limit to watching this video. Please keep doing it until you understand how this thing is working. Okay, so then we will move on to the next question, my dear friends. Okay, so now I am just moving on to the next question. Next star pattern is this, right? Next star pattern is this. Suppose if my n is equal to 4, n is equals to 4. So what we have to do, we have to basically print these stars. N is equals to 4, I have to print these stars. So now, what we have to do is, see this. What I want is, do you see a major pattern over here? So basically what I want is, in my first row there should be 1 star. In my second row there should be 2 star. In my third row there should be 3 star. In my fourth row there should be 4 star. Right? And how many rows are there? That means 4 rows. Got it? How will you write code for this? It's a very small change. It's a very easy code. Let me just write it for you, right? So I will be equal to 0. And I have told you that I is responsible for these rows, right? So how many rows do we want? We want 4 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4. These are 4 rows. So what will happen is, I will run my I from I is less than, I is less than 4, and then I plus plus. Okay, now tell me how the j loop should work, right? And then again, what I will do is, I will add a let row is equals to empty, right? Now I want this row to only add 1 star on the first row, 2 star, 3 star, 4 star. So I want my j loop to work like this, right? So the j loop on the first iteration should be 1. Second time, the second iteration, the J loop should run for two times. Then the third time, the J loop should run for 3 times. The fourth time, the J loop should run for 4 times, right? So we have to write a logic something like this. So what we will do, my dear friends, is I will run my J loop from 0, and I will run my J loop till less than, how many times? I'll have to run this J loop from 0. I want on my first time for this loop to run 1 time. How will my loop run 1 time, right? What should I write over here so that my loop should run 1 time? If I write 1 over here, my loop will run 1 time, right? Let me explain you, right? Just a minute. If I write 1 over here, how many times this loop will run? This will run 1 time. If I write 2 over here, how many times this loop will run? It will run 2 times. If I write 3 over here, how many times loop will run? It will run 3 times. If I write 4 over, if I write 4 over here, how many times loop will run? It will run 4 times. So what we will write over here is, we will write less than I plus 1, right? So on the first iteration, how my I will behave? See this. Now let me just show you one thing. See how my I loop will behave. I will be 0, 1, 2, 3. And each of this iteration, my each row will be formed, right? When I is 0, this row will be formed. When I is 1, this row will be formed. When I is 2, this row will be formed. When I is 3, this row will be formed, right? So what will happen is, when I is 0, how many times my J loop should run? It should run 1 times, right? So then this less than should be equal to I plus 1, right? This J loop should be I plus 1, right? And then what I will do, I will just add row is equals to row plus star, okay? And then I will do console.log of row. That's it, my dear friends. So just understand this once again. Let me just, I have written the code now. Let me just rerun this or dry run this to make you understand how this will work, right? So first thing is, you have to understand how my I and J are behaving, right? So I and J are behaving, right? What pattern I do need, I want to print what pattern. So, and you have also understood that when I am on the I, right? When I is 0, I want 1 star to be printed. When I is 1, I want 2 stars to be printed. When I is 2, I want 3 stars to be printed. When I is 3, I want 4 stars to be printed. So kind of I need to print I plus 1 stars, right? I need to print I plus 1 stars. I want this J loop to run for I plus 1 times, isn't it? It's very easy. Does it make sense or not? Right? So I want my J loop, right? J loop to run I plus 1 times. I plus 1 times. How will you run the loop I plus 1 times? This is how you do it, right? This is how you do it. Let me write it once again, right? Let me write it once again, because this can be a little confusing. Again, let's write once again, right? Let's write once again. Okay, let's write once again. Let's write the code once again. So for I is equals to 0, I is less than 4, I plus plus, right? And then I have my row, I have my row is equals to empty. Then I will write then my J loop will run from 0 to, I want my J loop to run how many times? Less than I plus 1, J plus plus, right? And then I can add row is equals to row plus star. And then I will do console.log of row. Done, right? This is how you do. Now what will happen? Initially the I will be 0. How many times this loop will run? Tell me. When I is 0, how many times this loop will run? This will run 1 time, right? This will run 0 plus 1. That means 1 times. It will run 1 times. So 1 star will be printed. When I is 1, how many times this loop will run? It will run 2 times and 2 stars will be printed. When I is 2, it will be printed 3 times. When I is 4, it will be printed 4 times. And this pattern will be formed, right? This is the pattern that we had to form. Now, if you haven't understood, please try to dry run it yourself, try to write code yourself, and then you will understand. But let me just show it to you. Let me write it once again, right? Full code once again, because that is when you will understand. I will run my loop, I loop from 0 to 4, right? I will run my I loop from I is less than n, and then I plus plus, right? So that's how this loop will work. Sorry, what's wrong with it? Okay, I have not added these parentheses. Now what I'll do a row is equals to empty, okay? And then I will run this J loop, let J is equals to 0, and I want my J to run till where? J to I plus 1, right? And then J plus plus, okay? And then what I will do, I will just add row is equals to row plus and then star, and then I will do console log, and you will see on the console that, right? You will already see on the console our pattern should be printed. Console log of row. As soon as I put row, do you see that pattern getting printed? Do you see that pattern getting printed? Right? It's interesting, right? If I change my n to 6, do you see? If I change my n to 7, if I change my n to 10, it perfectly works fine, right? So this is how our star pattern should be printed. The important thing to note over here is J is less than I plus 1. Now, one more thing is, right, if you carefully observe, what if I write this code, right? So let me tell you one more thing, right? A lot of students don't understand this. Suppose if I have a loop I is 0, and I say I is less than n, and then I say I plus plus, right? Sorry. If I have this loop and I say I is n plus 1, sorry. My bad. I is less than 5, I plus plus. Right? This is one loop. Let me write another loop. Tell me how many times this loop will run. Quickly. Quickly. Take a moment. Tell me. I'm giving you time to think. How many times this loop will run? Now you will say, Akshay, this loop will run for 5 times. Why it will run 5 times? Because the value of I will go from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And as soon as it is less than 5, it goes to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and it will run 5 times. How many times this loop will run? Tell me. Less than equal to 5. How many times this loop will run? I have just added this equal to sign. Now this loop will run how many times? How the value of I will go? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and it will also go to 5 because I have I is less than equal to. Right? So this loop will run 6 times. So what I'm trying to say, what if I do less than equal to 4? Right? What if I do less than equal to 4? How many times this loop will run? How many times less than equal to 4? How many times this loop will run? Less than equal to 4. How many times this loop will run? Tell me. The value of I will go from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Isn't it? So it will again run 5 times. So what I'm trying to say is this loop is exactly same as this loop. Right? This loop is exactly same as this loop. If I do less than 5 or if I do less than equal to 4, it's one and the same thing. I will go from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 over here. In less than equal to 4 also I will go from, right? I will go from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? This loop less than equal to 4 and this I is less than 5. These two loops are same. Same. Because I will go from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and over here also I will go from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So can I say my, if I write two loops, right? Now if I write two loops, if I write I is less than n and if I write I is less than equal to n minus n, sorry. If I write I is less than n plus 1 and if I write less than equal to n, will it be correct if I say this? If I write I is less than to n plus 1 and if I write less than equal to n, is it one and the same thing? Because less than 5 and less than equal to minus 1 is same thing, right? Just think about it. Take a moment and think about it. I am confusing you a little. If I run, let me explain you once again. If I run this from 0 to 5, less than 5, that means my value will be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. If I make it less than equal to 4, so again the value will be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. These both are same, we understood. If I write I is less than n plus 1, and if I write I is less than equal to n, is it one and the same thing? Yes, it is one and the same thing. It is one and the same thing. So what I am trying to say is, in the previous question, if you will see, we have done, if I write this statement over here, j is less than I plus 1, or if I write j is less than equal to I, are both the statements same? Are both the statements same? So basically, see, there are two statements, j is less than I plus 1 and j is less than equal to I. These both statements are same. This is what I wanted to try, and this is what I wanted to tell you. Please put some numbers over here and then see if it makes sense to you or not. Okay, so over here, what I'm trying to say, in this solution, I can also write j is less than equal to I and still it will work the same way. Got it? Now, this can be a little confusing. This can be a tricky for some people. Some people would say, Akshay, why are you explaining again and again? It's very, very easy. Very, very easy. I've understood. Why are you explaining again and again? But I know some people would have not understood this. So I would request you all, please take a pen and paper and try to, run it, and then see if it makes sense to you or not. Okay? And try to change this value to less than I plus 1 and less than I plus 1. This is one and the same thing, right? If you write j is less than I plus 1 or if you write less than equal to I, it's one and the same thing. This should be very, very clear. There should be no iota of doubt in this understanding. Got it? Now let's move on to our another question. Okay, so now the question is like this, right? We have to print it. If suppose n is given 5, suppose if n is given 5, then we have to print this pattern, right? How can we print this pattern if n is given 5 to us? It's very, very easy once again, right? It's very, very easy once again. Very, very easy. Now, right, so let me just write it down for you. Do you want to try it? Do you want to try it yourself? Please try it out yourself if you want to, please. Please go ahead and try it out yourself because you can do it, right? It's very easy. So I have for I will go from 0 to n, right? I have a for loop. I will go from 0 to I is less than n and I plus plus, right? Right? Because I want 5 rows, right? I want 5 rows. So my I will go from 0 to n. Now what I will do, right? For j is equals to 0, j is less than, how many times j should run? J should again run for I plus 1 times, right? I plus 1 times. So I can either do j is less than equal to I, or I can do j is less than I plus 1, right? There are two things that I can write. Let me just write both of them for you, right? There are two things that you can write over here. One thing you can write is j is less than I plus 1, Or you can write j is less than equal to I. They are one and the same thing. Okay, they are one and the same thing, and then I will write j plus plus. Okay, you should understand this. Now what I will print is, now what do I have to print this? If you will carefully see, this is exactly the value of j plus 1. If you do console.log of j plus 1, it will give you the exact value, right? This loop will come in. How? Now let me just dry run and show it to you. Suppose if my I is 0, how my j loop will run? My j loop will run one time, and that will be 0, right? If my I is 1, my j loop will run from 0 to 0 and 1. The value of j will be 0, 1, right? Now when the I value is 2, my j loop will run for 3 times, and the value will be 0, 1, 2, isn't it? Now when I will be 3, the value of j will be 0, 1, 2, 3, right? The I value will be 0, 1, 2, 3. Now if you will clearly see this pattern, this is exactly the same pattern, isn't it? It is exactly the same pattern. It is just plus 1 of all these j values. If you do 0 plus 1, it will be 1 over here, 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 it will be 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, and 4, right? So that's how my loop works, isn't it? So it is basically j plus 1, right? Just see it clearly. And over here again you have to add it to row, right? Basically row is equals to empty, and then I will have to row plus, right? Sorry, my bad. Over here I have to add it to row, right? Row is equals to row plus. Sorry for the bad handwriting. I am writing very fast. That's why it is happening. Row is equals to row plus j plus 1, right? So basically you have to do j plus 1 and add it to row, and then you do a console log of row, right? So your star pattern will be printed like this. You just have to do j plus 1. Now you should know this reasoning, right? Again, it's one and the same thing. You have to go from 0 to n, right? 0 to n, let's make it n as 5. I should be 0 to n. J should be less than equal to I. Instead of this star over here, I just want to add over here j plus 1, right? J plus 1. Okay, so see this. 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's very, very easy. 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? So this is what we needed to print, isn't it? Just think about it once. It's a very easy solution. Pause the video and try to solve it yourself. You will understand it. Now let us just try to print this, right? Now let us just try to print this. Okay, how will you print this? How will you print this, my dear friends? If n is given to you is n is equals to 5, how will you print this? Tell me. Very, very easy once again. Now I will run my loop from 0 to less than n I plus plus. Okay, so my for loop runs from 0 to n I plus plus. Again, we have a row empty. Then I will run my for loop from j. Again, if you see this type of a pattern, right? So my j will run from 0 to less than n, right? Less than I. This is a very famous pattern. J plus plus, right? And now the only difference between this and the previous question is now I will just add my I plus 1. Okay, because see, I does not changes in a row. I does not change in a row, right? So I will not change in a row, and I will do just log, right? I will do a log of row, and that's what my solution is. Very, very easy. Let us dry run this code, right? Shall I dry run? Let me just show it to you. When my I is 0, how many times j loop will run? J loop will run for 1 time. Sorry, over here it should be j should be less than equal to I, or j less than I plus 1. Okay, so this should be like this, right? Otherwise it will break. Now my loop, when I is 0, my loop will run for 1 time, right? 1 times, right? When I is 1, my loop will run for 2 times. When I is 2, it will run for 3 times. When I is 3, it will run for 4 times, right? So now in my first row, I want to print the value of I plus 1 for 1 time, right? If you will see clearly what I have to print in the first line. I have to print the first line, the value of I plus 1 time. In second row, I want to print the value of I plus 1, right? I plus 1, right? For 2 times. Over here, I want to print the value of I plus 1 for 3 times. And over here, I want to print the value of I plus 1 for 4 times. Got it? Very, very easy. Very, very easy. Right? So try to run it yourself. You would understand this. The only difference you have to do is just change this to j, from j to I, and see this. Do you see? 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4, 5, 5, 5. That's all you need to do, my dear friends. That's all you need to do. Right? Some people would be confused. Let me tell you one more simple solution for the same problem. Shall I tell you? Right? Shall I tell you a very simple solution? Right? Sometimes, a lot of students gets confused because of zero indexing, right? Because see, this pattern is starting from 1, and then it is starting from 2, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4, 4, and 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. This pattern is starting from 1 index, and our loop starts from 0 index. Shall I start my I loop from 1? Let's say my I goes from 0 to 1, 2, and I can say my I loop goes from 1, and I want my I loop to go less than equal to 5. Okay, so that means my I will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and then I will do I plus plus. Easy, isn't it? And then let me add row is equals to empty, right? This will be a very easy solution, you will understand it. Let's run my j loop also from 1 to j is less than, now how many times? 1 times it should run, right? So less than equal to I and then j plus plus. Okay, this is very easy. Now try to run it. Now I will do row is equals to row plus I, right? Now just see and try to dry run this code, right? And then I will log it, log row. Now try to dry run this code, right? I have made it very easy. Now my I is going from 1 to 5, right? So I will go from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and now my j loop will run from, first time it will run for 1 time, second time it will run for 2 times, then it will run for 3 times, 1 time, 2 time, 3 time, 4 time, 5 time, right? And what do I need to print? I just need to print I. Okay, so I need to print I for how many times, right? J times. So 1 will be printed, in the second loop 2 will be printed, in the third loop 3 will be printed, fourth loop 4 times 4 will be printed, and then 5 will be printed. So that's how this code works. Again, if you did not understand this, my dear friends, I would request you to please pause the video right away. Try to dry run it. Try to do it slowly, how J is moving, how I is moving. Just try to think about it. And only move ahead of this problem when you have completely solved it and you have written it yourself, you have understood this. Then only go ahead. Otherwise, don't go ahead. Okay, we will solve a few more problems according to patterns. And those are also just the complex ways, right? Now, not complex, basically, those are also similar kind of problems. Now we have changed the pattern a little bit differently, right? So now let me just tell you, it's again a very easy solution. Let's solve this question now. So basically in this question, again, my n is equals to 5 over here. Now this pattern is very different and it's unique, right? So now over here we have seen that, okay, this is a very different type of a pattern. Here we'll have to change the execution of loop, right? But what I know is I have 5 rows, right? Whenever you have 5 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that means my I loop will run for 5 times, right? This is what, right? My outer loop will run for 5 times. So how will I run it? I is equals to 0, I is less than 5, and then I plus plus, right? This runs the loop for 5 times. Now let me tell you how j value will move, right? J. Suppose if my I is, what will be the value of I? I will be 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? These will be the value of I. Now, how many times I want my j loop to run? My j loop initially it should run 5 times. Next time it should run 4 times. Next time it should run 3 times. Then it should run 2 times. Then it should run 1 times. Do you see a pattern over here? My n is 5. My n is 5. So what do you see is my j wants to run for, when I is 0, it should run 5 times. When my I is 1, then it should run 4 times. So can I safely say that j loop should run for n minus I times? N minus I times. Can I say? So see this. My j loop should run for, suppose n is 5. So it should run for 5 minus 0 times. 5 minus 1 times, that is 4 times. 5 minus 2 times, that is 3 times. Do you understand this? So my j loop should run n minus I times. This is an important thing to note over here. Now my I loop is running safely. Now how will you run loop n minus I times? Very easy. How do you run loop n minus I times? My j will start from 0. My j will go less than n minus I times, right? J plus plus. That's it. Now what I will add is, in my row I will add my, see, in my row now I have to add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And how my value of j will move? From 0 to n minus I, right? From 0 to n minus I. That means I will add j plus 1 over here, right? Because my j will move from, how will my j move? My j will move from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And over here I want to add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So isn't it j plus 1, right? So over here I will add j plus 1 and then I will close the loop, right? And then I will log my row and then it is over. So that's how this problem will be solved. It's a very, very easy problem if you understand it. So again, my I loop will go from 0 to n. My j loop will go from less than n minus I, right? N minus I, right? And over here I have to add j plus 1. That's it, right? If I add j plus 1, it will give me the same pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1. Does it make sense to you? Right? If I make this n as 7, it will again work the same way. Okay, if I make this 5, it will work the same way. Got it? So that's how things will work, my dear friends. Cool. So now let's move on to another question. Again the same thing. And now it's very, very easy. We have already seen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now this star pattern is very easy, right? I don't even want to write code over here because it's one and the same pattern. I just, instead of just j plus 1, we just have to write star over here, right? So no need. If you have understood the previous solution, then this is a very easy solution, isn't it? Right? So solve it yourself. It's your homework, right? And there's nothing to change over here. It's one and the same thing. Instead of doing row plus j plus 1, I just have to do a star over here and it will just print the same pattern. Isn't it? Cool. Let's move on to another pattern. This is a new pattern now, my dear friends. It's an amazing pattern, right? So now this is a tricky pattern, right? This is a tricky pattern. I like to solve this kind of a question. This is a tricky pattern. So if you will clearly observe, now how will we maintain these? How will I make this kind of a space, right? How will I make this kind of a space? How will I make this kind of a space, right? So if you will see, what I will do is, let's say over here, in my first row, if I observe row by row, so this row contains 4 empty spaces, right? This contains 4 empty spaces and 1 star. This contains 3 empty spaces, 2 stars. This contains 2 empty spaces, 1 star. This contains 1 empty space, 4 stars. Got it? So you have to make this code something like, okay, so let me not add empty spaces. Think of it like this, okay? So suppose if I have underscore over here, right? If I have underscore over here, so I have 4 underscore and then a star, then I have 3 underscore, then a star, then I have 2 underscore, then a star, 1 underscore, then a star, right? So this pattern, we have to consider this also. We have to consider these also. Okay, so how would I do that? Suppose if I have my I and my I goes from 0, 1, sorry, my I goes from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So what I want is, this is my I. Just give me a moment. This is the value of I, right? So this is the value of I, right? This is the value of I. My I, just give me a moment. Let me just rewrite it because it's very confusing. So what I have to do is, there should be 4 empty spaces and then a star. There should be 3 empty spaces, then 2 stars. Then there should be 2 empty spaces, then there should be 3 stars. Then there should be 1 empty space and 4 stars. And there should be 0 empty space and then all stars, right? So if you see clearly, my I goes from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So how many empty spaces do I want? How many empty spaces do I want? I want 4 empty spaces, right? And my n over here is how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My n is 5. So how many empty spaces do I want? Can I safely say that I want n minus I plus 1 empty spaces, right? Can I okay, let me reverse this up, right? Instead of empty spaces, let's look at stars, right? How many stars do I want, right? How many stars do I want? How many stars do I want? I want my stars to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So can I say my stars should be I plus 1, right? Can I say my star should be I plus 1? If my I is 0, I want 1 star, right? If my I is 0, I want 1 star. If my I is 2, if my I is 1, I want 2 stars. If my I is 2, I want 3 stars. If my I is 4, 3, I want 4 stars, right? I want I plus 1 stars in every row, right? In every row, there should be I plus 1 stars. How many blank spaces should be there? Empty spaces. How many empty spaces should be there? It should be n minus number of stars, right? N minus number. So if there are 5, so 5 minus the number of stars, right? So 5 minus number of stars, that means n minus how many number of stars are there? I plus 1, right? So we have got this many empty spaces. Now, can you write code for this? Can you write code for this, my dear friends? Tell me. Will you be able to write code for this, right? Will you be able to write code for this? Resize. Will you be able to write code for this? Try to write code for this. If you cannot write, I will just write code for you. Now I want how many stars, how many empty spaces. We have got the number. Now let's write normal loop, because I know my I will go from 0 to 4, right? That means I is less than 5 or less than n. Let me use n over here. And then I plus plus. Got it? Now my row is equals to empty once again. Now what we will do is, now I have to add empty spaces over here. To add empty spaces, I will have to run a loop. I will have to run a loop from 0 to less than n minus I plus 1. Okay, so these many empty spaces. How many empty spaces should I add? So I will add empty spaces. My J loop will run from less than n minus I plus 1. Okay, and then my J plus plus. And now what I will do is, I will add row is equals to row plus an empty space, or I would say underscore, right? Let's put underscore as an empty space. Got it? So my for loop will run and all the empty spaces will be added to my row. Now I have, this loop is only for adding underscore or empty spaces. I will have to add one more loop over here, which will add my stars, right? And how many stars should I add? This loop will run for I plus 1 times, right? K plus plus. This loop will run for I plus 1 times. And now my row will add a star. Do you understand that? And then once these two loops are completed, then I will do a console.log of my row. And that's it. That's it, my dear friends. So what you will observe is, this first loop, right? This loop over here is just adding these empty spaces. Okay. And this another loop is adding a star. This another loop is adding a star over here. Do you understand that or not? Do you understand that or not? So how will this code work is, let me tell you once again, if my I is 0, right? Now this time I will have how many empty rows? This loop will run in and it will add 4 empty stars. How many it will run? See, stars will be, just a moment, right? Stars will be n minus I plus 1, right? So n is 5 over here, 5 minus I plus 1, 0 plus 1. 5 minus 1, that means 4 empty spaces, right? 4 empty spaces will be added. And then how many how many stars will be added? This is empty space, right? Empty space. How many stars will be added? I plus 1. I plus 1 means 0 plus 1, that is 1 star. 4 empty spaces, 1 star. When I is 1, 3 empty spaces, 2 stars. When I is 2, 2 empty spaces, 3 stars. Okay, when I is 3, then there will be 1 empty space and I plus 1, that is 4 stars. When I will be 4, 0 empty space and 5 stars. Got it? That's how this code will work. So now let me write this code for you all. So my I will go from 0 to n. My row is here. This J loop will go and add empty spaces, right? How many empty spaces? N minus I plus 1, right? N minus I plus 1. Right? N minus I plus 1, right? And I have to add underscore or empty spaces over here. Do you see? I have already added empty spaces, right? Now I just have to add stars, right? How would I add stars? I will run another loop, and this time I cannot have J loop. Let's run K loop, right? Let's run K loop, right? Let's call this as K. And this time my loop should go from I plus 1, right? I plus 1, and it should add my star to it. Do you see this? This is the same pattern that we were about to print, isn't it? This is the same pattern that we wanted to print. Instead of these underscore, you can add an empty space, but this will not look good because there is something wrong with this console. If you will run the same program, it is adding spaces, but what it does, it automatically removes all the spaces which are there in front of these strings, right? So there is some problem with this console, but this program is 100% correct. If you will run this program inside your browser console over here, right? Let's write this program in my browser console, hit enter. Do you see? It is printing correctly. Okay, it is printing correctly. What happens is in this console, right? The playground console that we have, the front extra spaces is trimmed, right? So that is why it is not saying, but to make it look good, you can add a dot or you can add an underscore to make it look better, right? So that you can understand. You can add a dot, okay? Let's add a dot. So do you see this? I have added 4 dots, 1 star, 3 dots, 2 star, 2 dots, 3 star, 1 star, 1 dot, 4 stars, and then all stars, right? So that is how you print this pattern. Now let me tell you, my dear friends, if you are confused at this point, this loop, J loop, is basically adding empty spaces or dots, right? We have dots, and this K loop is adding what? Adding stars. Got it? So this is how these functions work, and hope you would have understood this. Now I will move on to other questions also, right? But I can tell you, my dear friends, if you are finding this tough, it will be tough, right? For some people who are very new to coding, who have just started writing loops, and you have seen all these problems, it can be a little tough, but I want you all to give it more time. If you can't solve it today, take a break, try to solve it tomorrow, and fresh. If you cannot solve it tomorrow, take a break, solve it after some time. But keep on trying to solve it, keep on trying to understand it. If you give it enough time, you will understand it, and once you understand it, you will never forget for life. Trust me on this. And we don't have to give up, my dear friends. I know when we go to gym, DSA is like a gym. I will take a lot of examples when I say DSA problem solving is like a gym. When you will go and try to do your first bench press, right? First chest press, then you will find it very tough. And if you put in extra weights, then it will be even tougher. So keep practicing, keep going, and then slowly you can increase the weight, right? Similarly, it's also tough. We are increasing the complexity, but keep on practicing, and you will become better at it, right? So this is our motive. Now, let's move on to another problem. There are 2 more problems, okay? This pattern and this pattern. Let's try to solve them up, and then I will end this video. Cool. So again, this is a very important pattern. See, by this time, you would have already understood whenever there is a pattern, something like this, you have to run loops. How do you have to run loops, right? You should have understood it by now, right? If you haven't understood, you should catch some patterns, right? So let me just write code quickly for this. Resize. And I will also tell you my thought process. See, now what I see is whenever there is a new row change, whenever we are changing a new row over here, what is happening? I am just alternatively switching 0 and 1, right? Whenever there is a new row, it starts with 1 and it changes to 0. Whenever there is a new row, it is 1 0 1. Whenever there is a new row, 1 0 1 0. Alternate 1 0, alternate 1 0, alternate 1 0, right? So how, first of all, we will write code to print this kind of a pattern. How do we print this kind of a pattern? I know that I have my less than n, right? If n is equals to 5, so I have 5 rows. So I will write my I loop as this, right? I loop should be this. Whenever you see a pattern something similar to this, so that means my J loop over here will run from 0 to less than I plus 1, okay? J plus plus, right? Or J is less than equal to I, right? So these both things you can write. You will get this type of a pattern. Now, how will we make it 0, 1, 0, 1? So what we have seen over here is, whenever there is a new row, right? So first of all, I want my row to be empty because over here I will add, right? So whenever there is row, I want a variable which can switch from 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, something like this. Okay, I want my variable to flip from 0 to 1. I want my variable to flip from 0 to 1 every time. So initially, whenever there is a new row, let's say I have one more variable, let's say switch. I can call this as switch, right? Let's call this as switch. Okay, let's call this as switch, F-S-U-I-D-W-H, switch. And let's say switch is 1. Now what I will do is, whenever my loop is getting executed, what I will do, every time my loop is getting executed, I will add my switch to row. Row is equals to row plus switch. And what I will do is, I will switch the switch later on, right? Once I have added this, I will change my switch. Now, if my switch is equal to 1, make it 0. Make it 0. If my switch is equal, else, right? Else. If my switch is 1, make it 0. Otherwise, make my switch as 1, right? This is the logic that I will write, and I will just do log, and that's it. That's it. So basically, what extra I'm doing over here is, I'm maintaining a switch. Whenever there is a new row, this switch is basically 1, right? It starts from 1, and then the switch is, whenever this loop is running, I will keep changing my switch from 0 to 1, 0 to 1, 0 to 1, 0 to 1, 0 to 1. Very easy, right? Try to do it yourself, right? And you would understand it. Let me just write the code for it. Let me write it from the scratch, right? Let me write it from the scratch. So I have my loop. So this loop runs from 0 to n, right? I is less than n, I plus plus. And then I will have my for loop once again. Let j is equals to 0. And then j is less than I plus 1, I plus 1, I plus 1, and then j plus plus, right? So this is my loop. Sorry, my bad. Just give me a moment. Yes. Okay. So this will make the pattern. Now over here, we already know that we have to write a row is equals to empty, right? Let row is equals to empty. And what we will do now, I will initialize a switch, right? This switch basically, so let's not use the word switch because switch is a keyword in JavaScript. Let's say it's a toggle, right? Let's call this keyword as toggle. My toggle is 1, right? Initially, my toggle is 1. What I will do is, I will add my toggle to my row each time. And whenever I will add this TOGGLE toggle, right? Add my toggle to the row. And after every iteration, I want to switch my toggle. How do you switch my toggle? Switch the toggle from, right? 0 to 1 or 1 to 0, something like this, right? So how will I switch my toggle? I will say if my toggle is equal to 1, so change it to toggle is equals to 0. Otherwise, else just change my toggle to 1, okay? So this is how you write it. It's very, very easy. Ideally, it's not a good practice. Generally, write these codes, right? Write these codes. The program looks much cleaner this way. Okay. Cool. So now I will switch this toggle every time, right? Now what I'll do, I'll just add a console.log of my row over here. And if you will see, I have got the same pattern printed. 1, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. Right? If I change my n to suppose 10, it will keep printing the same pattern again and again for a large number of digits also. It's a very, very easy problem, right? If you understand this toggle kind of a thing, right? How this toggle is working, it's a very easy problem, right? You are just having this toggle. And one thing which we have to realize is, what I was observing in this pattern was, if my toggle, this value is refreshed every time, right? 1 is getting initialized every time, right? This toggle is getting initialized every time whenever my row is changing. Suppose if I'm moving on to second row, my toggle become 1 again, and then it starts from 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0. That's what it is doing, right? Now let's move on to my last question over here. And this last question over here is this. Now, if you will see, it is again toggling, but this time it is not refreshing on every row. It is just 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0. It is not refreshing, right? Over here, it was refreshing on every row. It was refreshing. Here, it is not refreshing. Here, it is just continuing something like this. This pattern is very, very similar to this pattern. The only thing is the toggle is not refreshing every time. Why it is refreshing is because of this line, right? Because of this line, our toggle is refreshing again and again. What if I don't have to refresh it again and again? How can I make this happen? So the only difference, can you just solve it yourself? Take a moment, pause this video, try to solve it yourself. If you are not able to solve, come and see the solution, because it's just a one line change in the previous solution. It is not even a one line change. What you have to do is you just have to cut this line and you have to move this line outside, and your pattern is printed. Do you see? This is the same pattern we were expecting. So now if I have moved this toggle outside, that means my toggle is not getting refreshed again and again. It has been initialized once, and now it is just switching from 0 to 1, 0 to 1, 0 to 1 again and again over here, right? toggle is just switching from 0 to 1, 0 to 1, 0 to 1 again and again over here, and it is not changing again in every row. That's all it was, my dear friends. If you change it to 10 also, it will keep printing this pattern. So these are the star problems, star pattern problems, and these are very important problems when it comes to double loop. If a student understands double loop properly, if the student is able to do star patterns properly, that means your knowledge and understanding of double loop or loop within a loop is very, very strong. If you are able to solve all these questions yourself, then give a pat on your back, right? Give a pat on your back, and it's a big round of applause for you all, because you have truly understood how loop works. And please, people who are not able to solve this by themselves, let me tell you, a lot of students are not able to solve this by themselves. There are a lot of people who get stuck in the star patterns, and you have to revise your concepts and try to think in a way how these loops are working. Keep on practicing, and you will become better, and you will be able to think about how these loops are working. Okay, so keep practicing, my dear friends. Print these star patterns, and now we are just increasing the complexity of problems that we are solving in this video tutorials. Okay, so hope you are enjoying it, and if you are enjoying it, my dear friends, I would like to say that please give me a shout out on LinkedIn if you are enjoying watching this video. If you are learning something, share your knowledge on LinkedIn, share your knowledge on Twitter, share your knowledge with others on social media, write blog posts. You can do a lot of things, and please give me a shout out on LinkedIn or on Twitter, on your Instagram stories, or anywhere you can, right? I would be very happy for you all. And thank you so much for watching this videos. This was an amazing video where I have solved a lot of pattern questions. There are a lot more pattern questions, but I think these are the enough. I have selected the most important patterns that you should know as a developer. And if you can solve these patterns, that means your loop understanding is really good. Okay, so please now solve all these questions for yourself, practice it thoroughly. And once you have done this, once you have understood all of it, then we will move on to further videos and further questions, right? So there are more amazing questions that we will be solving. Now we will be kind of like, if the understanding of this double loop or loop within a loop will be very helpful when we will be doing sorting algorithms also. Okay, so we will do sorting algorithms later on, but before that we will solve some array questions, and we will do a lot more stuff. And it will be very, very exciting. I am super excited to teach you. Hope you are super excited as well. And if you like this video, again, lastly, I am just saying that please give me a shout out on social media. That's all in this video, my dear friends. I will see you in the next video, and namaste.